Hey, Chosen Champs. I hope you're having a blessed and positive day. So, today I wanted to talk to you guys about just having a relationship with God and what is it really like to have an intimate relationship with God. Now, there's a difference between knowing of God. You may know some scriptures, but there's a difference between having a relationship with God, being able to commune with Him and converse with Him anytime you want, just like a friend, just like someone there in physical. You just can't see God, but you can feel Him. My first encounter with God was when I was young, when I was a kid. And, well, a teenager. I was 16. I was pregnant. I was in foster care. And I didn't feel wanted. I felt worthless. And I'm like, Lord, I'm about to bring another child. In my head, I'm just like, I'm about to bring another child into this world, into foster care, just like me. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be anything. So this feeling of like depression, this feeling of sadness, this feeling of not feeling like I would make it, because for some reason I always thought that I would pass away at an early age. So I just didn't think that me being pregnant, I was going to live long. And I was just crying. I was sitting in this foster home I was living in, and I was in the room all alone, just crying and weeping. And I just felt a presence come over me. And it calmed me down, and I felt, which I know to be now, the spirit telling me it's going to be okay. And when I heard that inner voice, when I heard God whisper that to me through my spirit, the depression went away, the anxiety went away, and I started to feel like, you know what? I can make it. You know what? It's going to work out, because God wouldn't give me a child, and I wouldn't be able to take care of him. So that was like my first real encounter with him. I mean, there's so many more encounters that I had with God, but that is another video. So, what has life been like communing with God? It's one of the best things that you'll ever encounter. I have done drugs. I have done the X-rated things. I have did things that to please my flesh. But nothing ever gives me a feeling like having a deep relationship with God, knowing that no matter what I'm going through, no matter what you're going through, you have somebody to talk to. You have somebody that will listen and that will help guide you into the direction or the way that your life is supposed to go. It's a comforting feeling to know that even though your family may leave you, even though you may be betrayed by your friends, even though the world will judge you, even though you may have no one to turn to, if you can turn to God and have a relationship with Him, it's so comforting, because you know that He's consistent. You know that you can depend on Him, because the world will fail you. We're human. We may hurt each other, but God will never hurt you. God is always there to love you. And when I got into a relationship and started to spend time with God more and more, just alone time, just quiet time, I started to realize how much of the world I didn't need, how much of the material things and how much of the physical things didn't matter anymore. None of that mattered. All that mattered was my relationship with God. And that's all that matters, is my relationship with Him. Because at the end of it all, we're going to have to answer. He said every knee will bow. We will all bow. The atheists are going to bow. The ones who don't believe in Jesus will bow. We all will bow. The sinners will bow. One day we will all have to answer and be accountable for our own sins. But being in a relationship with God is so unexplainable. It's like, I can't imagine life without him. Because when I'm going through things, when I'm having my days where I'm being spiritually attacked, I know that I can go to God and he'll give me encouragement. Sometimes he'll speak to me through people, or I may see a billboard that said Jesus loves you or Jesus saves, or I may end up getting on YouTube and end up seeing a video that shows that is a message that's speaking to my spirit. I've had so many reasons why I will never leave God. And I have been through so much. I still go through things. You know, just because you have a relationship with God doesn't mean things are not going to happen. But when you have a relationship with God, it's like having someone to carry your bags. It's like having a bodyguard, having a person to carry your luggage. When you have so much on you and so much heaviness and so much things that's coming at you, you may be going through death in your family, you may be going through financial struggles, you may be going through mental illnesses or sickness in your body. Having him there to comfort you and having him there to tell you that it's going to be okay, it's a feeling that I can't explain. It's a feeling that I can't explain. And the thing is, all my life I felt like I was putting energy into everyone else and everything. But it wasn't until I started to put my energy into God that I started to see and understand God more and get to know him more. Just like if you're in a friendship, how do you get to know the person? You spend more time with them, you hang out with them, you talk to them, you ask them questions. That's how your relationship should be with God. You communion with him. Honestly, I would trade anybody just to keep my relationship with God. I'll let go of whatever I need to let go to maintain my relationship with God. I have lost so many people in my life. Some of them, of course, are alive, but I had to let go of so many people just so I can work on my relationship with God. And when I started to let the distractions out of my way, when I started to let those things fall that weren't good and weren't right in my life, that's when God started to reveal who he was. He started to let me know his personality. And then I started to want to read the word more. I started to want to pray more. I started to want to not watch those things that aren't good for my spirit. It's just a life-changing encounter. It's a life-changing encounter. And I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. I'm not saying that life is going to be perfect. But life without God, you're not living. You're not living. You're going to always be sad. You're going to always be angry. You're going to always feel like you don't belong. It wasn't until I started to get under God and started to be in his presence that I started to realize my worth. I started to realize who I was. I started to get strength in believing that I am someone. I started to get strength in believing that I belong somewhere. I belong to something. And that was God. That was God. I feel like if I don't have nothing else, as long as I still have God, and that's what's important. That's what's most important, because we get so caught up in the worldly things. We get so caught up in the fleshly things, and we think that those things are important. But all of that is temporary. All of that is temporary. But God is eternal. God is forever. God is the one who's there when no one else is there. When I was homeless, I couldn't call on nobody but Jesus. That was the only person I could call on. So I noticed God was the only one that I could put my all into and get back 20 times more, 100 times more of what I have given him. And that's the goodness of God. It's also being in communion with God is a love that I just can't explain. It's a peace, a stillness that you get that this world will never compare. I searched all over. I couldn't find nobody. Nobody great. Nobody greater, no. Nobody greater than you. I searched all over, and there's no one greater than him. There's no one mightier than him. There's no one more consistent than him. There's no one more loyal than him. There's no one more loving than him. There's no one more understanding than him. There's no one more greater than him. I searched all over, and I can't find no one better than God. Trust. He gives you hope. Hope for a future. So I hope this message was inspiring. I hope that it encouraged you to continue to build your relationship with God, because we will be building it to the day we leave this earth. We'll be continue to getting to know more and more about him. He knows everything about us. But it's important for you to build your relationship with him. It's important for you to get to know God outside of the church, outside of what you read, outside of what you watch on YouTube, outside of me and the people that have inspired you. It's important for you to build your own relationship with God, because he sees the best in you. Even when the world sees the worst in you, God always sees the best in you. He sees the best in you even when you can't see it in yourself. So I hope y'all have a blessed and positive day. And remember, continue to build your relationship with God, because that's all